the nightlight under the medicine cabinet that will help you recognize your own face at 2 a.m. when you get up to pee. As I stood on the Lindbergh's lawn next to my sisters, it occurred to me, for the first time, that the families who took us in were being introduced to absolute strangers too. Big dogs danced and squirmed, gleeful with new smells, but Bub and Hilda held as tight and still as a pair of garden gnomes. They didn't know what would happen. They didn't know the first thing about my sisters or me, what we'd say or do, if we'd stay for a month, or a year, or 3. And us? We'd seen the backseat of Mrs. O'Rourke's car too many times, our clothes and garbage bags on the floorboard. If we felt any hope that this new situation would be different, then it was the stowaway version, small and pinching as pea gravel in a shoe. Bub and Hilda seemed nice enough, but didn't everybody at first? Mrs. O'Rourke's car wambled down the drive, tires falling into every third pothole. We watched until she was out of sight and then watched the empty road. Finally, there was nothing to do but turn toward the Lindberghs. We stood, the 3 of them and the 3 of us, on the grass dry as cereal, and the noises all around. The snuffling dogs and the buzz of the air conditioner and the sprinkler pelting a row of yellow roses seemed to be saying, "Now what? Now what? Now?" The Lindberghs lived way out of town in Ashland, California, which is right next door to Fresno, in the San Joaquin Valley. You've probably heard of Fresno, it being one of the likeliest places to get shot in the head in a dark alley, and also the raisin capital of the world. Penny and Teresa were born in Spokane, Washington, where our mother's from, and where she went for help when our father ran off and left her mid-pregnancy, as was his habit. With my birth, she didn't have to go to Spokane because her mother came to her, and so I was the one delivered in a Fresno vineyard. Or rather, in a hospital, wedged between vineyards. The place was tiny, and since no rooms were available when my mother's time came, she labored in a hallway next to the washer and dryer, panting and contracting, while a load of sheets twisted and filled with sudsy grayish water, shutting her eyes against nausea when her mother offered her quaking cubes of strawberry jello. This was in October, past the drying season, but I'll bet the air around the vineyards still hung with the sickly, sweet smell of grape funerals. It's all the juice that does it, sugar collapsing on itself as the grapes shrivel into shrunken little heads. It stays and stays, that smell. You keep thinking you can blink it away or swallow it down, but you can't. I was 8 years old the day our social worker brought us to the Lindberghs. Penny was 8 too, being only 11 months my junior, and Teresa was 10. It was late September 1974, and still quite hot. Mrs. O'Rourke's yellow station wagon didn't have air conditioning, so the windows were down, funneling a furnace blast of air through the front and out the back. We drove and drove. I looked out my window, Teresa looked out hers, and Penny sat in the middle, her feet on the hump, hugging the Barbie camper she'd just gotten as a birthday present from the Fredericksons, our last set of parents. Penny stroked the pink decal striping, as if it were puppy fur. Her head bowed so that her red-brown hair fell forward. The cut was so severe it looked to be all bangs, the first tear falling to right above her gray eyes, the second touching her shoulders. With the way she was sitting, balled up like a hedgehog, I couldn't see her small, square face with its dusting of rust-colored freckles. "All right," Teresa said, turning to me. "I've thought about this, and what I think is you should be the one to share a room with the new girl. You're the friendliest. You'll make the best impression." Penny looked up from her camper